Right. It is true that the American market over the past 12 months or more has done much better than particularly in view of the fact that the euro has been weak. In dollar terms, has done much better than the American market, has done much better than the European market. At the same time, there is, I believe, a real problem in Europe. And it's a problem which goes back 12 years. There was an original flaw. And indeed, the euro was created for political reasons more than for economic reasons. The idea that the full integration of Germany into Europe required the euro. And the flaw was, of course, associated with the idea that there was a single currency, but at the same time, it was still the national governments and parliaments that had the direct responsibility for the power of the purse, for government spending and taxes. So there was a flaw. I mean, the flaw was not apparent for 10 years, almost 10 years, and then to a large extent because of the financial crisis, the flaw became obvious. And in essence, the only ultimate solution would be to correct the mistake that was made 12 years ago and have a European government. That the idea that you can have a single currency, like in the United States, if you have in the US, a federal government, that you would have a European federal government. That France would be like Massachusetts, and that Italy would be like, I don't know, Florida. But there is no appetite today, particularly in view of the fact that times are difficult in Europe. There is no appetite on the part of the French or the Italians, or even maybe the Germans, for a European government. No, but the idea of giving up some of the sovereignty is unpalatable. So there is a major problem, and yes, the Italians and the French and the Spaniards can push around the Germans somewhat successfully, but it seems they seem to be simply buying some time. They buy a few months and then they're in the soup again. So there is a major problem, but it's true that equities have declined, and now have equities in Europe declined to the point where they have become attractive in spite of the fact that the European problem seems to be far from resolution. Well, I think one has to take into account that because most European countries are fairly small, many of them have interests that go far beyond Europe. There are many, European companies that do a lot of business, not only in the U.S., but also in Asia, including in emerging, China, India, and South America. Right. So one should not say, and I think some investors are saying, I don't want to look at European equities, period. I think one has to insist on modest valuation, but I think some European equities are worth looking at.